Hi, here's a thought for the day continuing to read from Love and Addiction by Stanton Peele. This is part 4, Bruce and Vicky. Vicky and Bruce are individual human beings in body only. They are constantly struggling to overcome the separation of skin that is the one barrier to their total union. Their backgrounds explain some of the story. Both of them grew up comfortable and protected in a suburb of Los Angeles. From an early age, they thought in terms of professional careers and a domestic existence. Bruce, who graduated from high school a year ahead of Vicky, turned down a scholarship to an Ivy League university he had always dreamed of attending. Instead, unwilling to leave Vicky, he went to a university in the Los Angeles area, and Vicky followed him there a year later. She hadn't wanted to go too far from her parents. In fact, she lived at home rather than on campus, just as Bruce had done the year before so that he could be near her. The couple made the hour-long trip to and from school every day together, and they continued to see each other in the comfortable settings of their old neighborhood and their parents' homes. It was as if they were biding time, waiting simply to reach an age when they could marry without arousing comment. Their lack of experience with other people at college naturally did not give them a chance to gain a very accurate impression of themselves as others saw them. The result was that they didn't develop adult qualities that might have made them attractive to people who didn't already know and love them. And there you have it. Two people reluctant to leave the security of their high school relationship, probably as much from a fear of disappointing each other and of never finding anything better for themselves as from an inherent desire, had joined themselves together till death do us part. In the meantime, they had missed the opportunity to live away from home and experience their upper middle class parents would willingly have subsidized. The price they extracted from each other for the sacrifices involved in maintaining the relationship was the constant reassurance of each other's company. Having spent so much of themselves simply to stay together, they both felt the relationship owed them a great deal. And to justify this commitment, they steadily inflated each other's worth to the point where nothing else seemed of any consequence to them. They soon gave up whatever independent interests they had. Vicky discarded the idea of joining the college drama club because it would have taken too much of her time from Bruce. They did not see much of their old friends, most of whom had gone away to college. Nor did they make new friends at the university, except a few classroom friends. They talked about courses and teachers with these people, and together went to occasional parties with them. But because so little of their free time was spent on campus, these outside relationships didn't really amount to anything. The couple grew more and more clinging, turned to each other for more and more of what they wanted, and gradually severed all connections with the rest of the world except for school and their parents. Vicky and Bruce got married upon Bruce's graduation. Together, they decided to move to San Francisco for their graduate training. Bruce was to go to law school, while Vicky planned to get her PhD in history after completing her senior year at a college in that area. Not that she had any intention of being a historian. She found her history courses boring and, worse, tremendously stressful. Constrained but not inspired by the curriculum during her undergraduate years, she had made her way through with the help of stimulants and tranquilizers. One may wonder why she didn't rise up against this agony and get off the academic treadmill. But it's not surprising that a person so little disposed to question the security of her family home and her marriage would not seek something more purposeful than continued meaningless academic activity. In fact, she saw no alternative for herself while her husband was in law school. Vicky and Bruce were concerned about moving so far away from their families. However, they enjoyed regular weekend visits from their parents. They frequently returned these visits, carefully dividing their time between the two families, as well as bringing them together for joint gatherings. And they had hardly arrived in San Francisco before they began making detailed plans for their eventual return to Los Angeles, where they would buy a house near both families once Bruce was earning a lawyer's income, and their San Francisco bohemian period had come to an end. At this point, they settled into the kind of married life described in the account at the beginning of this chapter. Marriage gave their relationship, blessed with parental indulgence from the beginning, the added comforts of a home life. Occasionally, they roused themselves to attend an evening lecture or other university cultural event. However, their penetration into San Francisco never went much deeper than that. With few friends, their social life was as limited and superficial as it had been in college. And although they espoused topical viewpoints, they were certainly not part of the new West Coast scene. Thus, two underdeveloped egos merged into what D.H. Lawrence called an egoisme à deux. Two people banded together, not because of love or an increasing understanding of one another, but rather because of their over-entanglement and mutual self-deprivation. With each step in their growing interdependence, Bruce and Vicky broke a few more of the ties they'd had with other people, things, and activities. And as these disappeared, they hung on to each other that much more frantically to bolster themselves against an increasingly alien environment. We can partially trace the genesis of these addictive personalities in Vicky and Bruce's upbringing. Neither of them had broken from a childhood dependence on their parents. They approached all experience outside the family as somehow external to themselves. Although they were both successful students and both accepted the yoke of school's demands, their schoolwork had little meaning for them, and they spoke of it cynically. Nor were they capable of forming relationships outside the family, but for one, and that one was with each other. It was as though this isolated excursion drained them of all the energy they might have applied toward knowing other people. Their parents had been so generous, so quick to bend the environment to Bruce and Vicky's needs, that they could not realize how they were limiting their children's experience. When Vicky became involved with Bruce, her parents, with his parents' blessing, turned over their beach house to the young lovers and rented a smaller place at Lake Arrowhead. The couple could go to the beach house and be together without interference. Except, of course, it was total interference, for the young people were never allowed to develop distinct wills of their own. Vicky had no reason to go out into the world when her mother and father were so attentive to her needs, so appreciative of her charm and intelligence, that she could not have hoped to find better treatment anywhere else. Moving straight from her parents' home to her husband's, this woman never had the experience of living alone on her own emotional resources, and she probably never will. In this way, Vicky's and Bruce's parents incorporated every stage of their children's growth, except for the last stage, independence. Not only a healthy separation from the home, but a true psychological independence was not incorporated into Vicky or Bruce. And that is something a person carries with him or her for all time. And it is this kind of self-completion which instills the integrity that every real coming together of two or more individuals presupposes. So I think that might be the end of our series of love and addiction. The goal here is to see the difference between real love and dependency, love that's an addiction, love that sucks the juice, the living energy and juice out of another person, and demands, expects, requires that if you're going to have a relationship, you have to do what that person wants, you have to be what that person needs every minute of every day. If we are going to move to a beyond 3D, 4D to 5D kind of, I'll call it consciousness, independence, self-sufficiency, without being able to stand on our own, we're not going to make it. We have to have that kind of freedom from dependency. We can't be addicted to other people, their love, the ease with which they treat us. And the important thing, which many people are afraid of, is to go out there in the world and see yourself through other people's eyes. Let them respond to you honestly, naturally. That changes you at the core. And it teaches you how to deal with all of those other viewpoints. So think about that as you go through your day and make that day a beautiful, wonderful day. Take care.